Hey there! In today's video, we're going to be talking about common traits among successful grant writers. So if you're trying to figure out if this is something that you want to get into, if you want to become a grant writing unicorn, then this is a great video to start with. Let's hit it. Hey there, to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to do some slides. So how do I know if grant writing is right for me? All right, so there's really not a personality test yet, right? But we have observed that you're going to like grant writing if any of the following things are true. So common traits, this is just what we're seeing among students in our program, Grant Writing from Start to Funded. So they tend to be really flexible thinkers. Like they can come at a problem from a couple different angles and see a way around it, which is really important when you're trying to figure out things like, how do I get match funding for a grant? Which if you're like, what's match? Don't worry, you'll learn about it. But basically, when you need to be creative, grant writers are very good at coming at things from a different angle. Which essentially, I suppose, is this other point that they're very good at also being problem spotters and kind of getting ahead of things and like anticipating issues that might happen and troubleshooting in real time. So another thing that perhaps is a con to this personality type is that it's very hard for us, for maybe you, to turn your mind off. Like you're very engaged when you do something, you're very present in it, and sometimes it's just hard to kind of wind that down, right? Other things we're seeing is grant writers tend to be these creative geniuses, have so much potential, but frankly, they are not being actualized in their current work environment. So you're either really bored or you don't feel like you're being challenged. People aren't giving you kind of all that you know you could grow into. So grant writing can be a really nice way for you to kind of carve out your own bubble and thrive and be challenged and not have to depend on someone else to provide that right environment, because you need somewhere where the challenge matches your intellect. Another common thing we find is that grant writers are not motivated by just showing up to work and not having a meeting. Like they need a why. They need to know why they're showing up, what they're doing, and that it matters. And they're very community oriented. So they really want to believe in what they're doing. Like their heart has to be in it to be able to write it convincingly, right? They can definitely lose themselves in their quest for good and neglect taking care of themselves. This is certainly something that's especially problematic when you're coming up on a deadline with a grant application. Like you're really stressing out and you know you're close. And then you stop sleeping, you stop eating well, and you're stress eating. Like it happens. So this is a common challenge, I think, for this personality type, is like we'll give ourselves so much that you're not necessarily like holding back and taking care of yourself well enough to be able to continue to give to others. Then I suppose the flip side of that coin is that, however, they're so good, grant writers are so good at taking something so ambiguous with maybe having like very little information to work with or a pretty weak team or whatever, and they can really turn it into something, right? Like they're able to make it into very doable steps. So they're good at taking messy stuff and making it organized and easy to navigate. They can take technical, complex topics and make it easy for others to understand. So something I might not have mentioned too, like these photos, by the way, these are photos from students that have been in Grant Writing from Start to Funded that have crushed it. So like here you are, this is like the diversity of what people look like that are learning grant writing. There's no like one size fits all, right? It's more of the personality and your inner motivations and the lifestyle. So common traits, continued. Grant writers are all about efficiency to the point that sometimes they get themselves in trouble. So sometimes you're like, well, it's just efficient, so I just made a decision, but people didn't feel like they were brought along or whatever, right? Or maybe they think sometimes you're impatient. And it's not that you're impatient, you just like operate really fast, a little bit faster than sometimes others are keeping up with. So it's just something to be aware of. Sometimes it's pretty often that we find grant writers are perceived to be pretty shy and extroverted. Like they like grant writing because they can dig into something and kind of be behind the scenes. Like it's a quieter role. It's not like out in the front of the pack. But once they're in their element, like you'll find the extrovert in that person. Like when you're confident in what you're doing in your domain of expertise, like they crush it. And to conclude on common traits, successful grant writers are excellent communicators in all forms. in written, in audio, etc. They're just very good at navigating kind of a triangle between the organization, the funder, and kind of stakeholders or whatever, right? Like the user base. Like they're very good at just communicating and keeping everyone up to pace. Like they're committed to being good project managers. You'll notice I didn't say they have to be amazing, flawless writers, right? Obviously, having strong writing skills is very important, but you'll also develop your writing skills when you get into grant writing and you're writing more often. I mean, it's a muscle, like we gotta flex it for it to get strong, right? We gotta use it. So you don't have to be a stellar writer or you don't have to be stellar at numbers. Like people tend to be better at one or the other. They either really enjoy the budget part or they really enjoy the narrative writing, but typically not both. But what's good is like you can learn techniques for managing both and being competent on both sides of that equation. Alright, so question 2. What are all of your options? What can you do with grant writing? So probably the most obvious one is you're a whole heck of a lot more hireable. So when you have grant writing on your resume, like professionally trained grant writer, you're way more likely to land a new job. You can of course do it as a volunteer. You can fund your work if you're actually a private business and you want to basically help get your clients funded so they can pay for your services. That's a good strategy. Or of course you can freelance or consult. So in terms of landing a new job, so when you can show I'm professionally trained, I have a certification in the Grant Writer from Start to Funded program, like it's awesome, looks great on a LinkedIn profile and your resume, and then just legitimately gives you the tools to succeed, right? That's what really matters here. You can also prove that you have some real world experience. Like we're really big on helping people get matched up with others if they don't have a real project to work on. So you can, tag team on a project that's already happening, or go find a nonprofit that you love and you want to just do some small, like $20,000 or less project. So you can get some real world experience, and that helps you when you're doing your interview because you can really point to it and it's not hypothetical. It's just very much a resume popping skill. Okay, of course, volunteering. Let's talk about that. I mean, this is one of the biggest gifts that you can give a nonprofit that you care about. I mean, more now than ever, right? A lot of organizations are hurting because they can't have their traditional fundraising events and such. So if you can learn how to grant write successfully for that food bank or your church or whatever, like you're going to have a seriously big impact that extends well beyond the time and money that you can donate personally. Personal favorite, freelancing. Boy, talented grant writers are needed. There is a big shortage of people that are really well trained and they really know what they're doing. It's a very easy business to start, like laptop, internet, someone willing to pay you, boom, you're in business. And it's also, geographically flexible. So it's nice that you can have clients anywhere and that you can be anywhere, right? So whether you're looking for it as a retirement income you can do on the road, or a side hustle to your regular 9-to-5 that maybe you grow into then a full-fledged practice where you're hiring other grant writers too. Let's think big here. It's a great gig. It's hard work, okay? Like not sugarcoating this, hard work, but it's a really awesome career too. So definitely worth considering. I just want to share a quick story. This is Anna Tuig. She's the gal on the left in the purple. She reinvented herself and she was working for a landscape firm in an administrative capacity, and she was so over it, but she did not know what to do next. So what was cool is she said, I think I'm going to try out grant writing, and she totally crushed it. She started by volunteering for 2 nonprofits she cares about. She Jumps, gets more women outdoors doing outdoor sports. And then the second one was a mountain bike club. So that's how she kind of started getting her experience, where the idea of writing a $25,000 grant is like mind-blowing. It's so big. But then she landed a full-time job with an engineering firm, helping them write grants for infrastructure projects, like a new road or a new water line or wastewater treatment plant. Sounds weird, I know, but great gig. And so then she's writing a $1 million grant, right? And she thinks, if I recall, she's already won up to $15 million in grants. So that's cool. And now she's even looking to what's next. Like, how can she take on even the bigger, more challenging grants that are beyond that? So here's an example of someone that was burned out, didn't know what to do, huge heart, huge community mindset, and she took grant writing and ran with it. And it's been 6 years in the running of a really wonderful career. I'll link in the description below the link to her interview and also a blog post we have about her, because it's just a really cool story of what's possible, and I hope that that inspires you to think about what you could do with your career if you had grant writing in your back pocket. I think what's so cool about it is that you can reinvent yourself without an expensive graduate degree, and you can do it fast. I mean, you can learn how to write winning grants in 1 to 3 months, right? Like, it's not a huge time commitment. I mean, you got to go all in, you got to commit to learning it, but then you've got it, it's in there, and then it's a lifelong practice to get better and better. I like the way that my dad told me to think about education. You go to school for your ABCs, and then you go to work for the rest of the alphabet, right? So get your ABCs, we're happy to give you your ABCs, and then you get to just immediately apply that sooner than you probably realize, and it's pretty remarkable what you can do with it as a skill. So that is 101 on common traits of successful grant writers, all the things that you can do. And then the third thing I wanted to cover is, well, okay, I'm interested, what do I do next? And there's 2 things that I wanted to suggest. So I'm gonna pop over to, this is our website, you can just type in learngrantwriting.org and it'll pop up. Go to, let's see if I remember, resources, go to videos. This is where we post all of our free trainings that we do for students in the program. So there's a bunch of videos you could watch here, like how to start a consulting business. But the one I really wanna draw your attention to is this one. So explore if grant writing is right for you. This is sort of a much more detailed version of what we just went through, and it'll give you a lay of the land for what it's like to learn with us. And then the other thing I would suggest would be going and taking this free grant writing class. So it's about the 7 steps to writing a winning grant application, and this will really give you a good feel. If you're done with that and you're real fired up, cool, you probably have found something that's right for you. It's, I think, 45 minutes of time pretty much to get through all the content. They're little video trainings, and then all of the attachments that you can need, very nutrient dense. We like to get to the point. So that's that. Hope you'd find those things helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe button because we're putting out a video a week pretty much. So that'll be on your radar as you continue to invest in learning a new skill set. And that is it. Awesome chatting with you today. I'll catch you next time. Bye.